All right. Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography. I'm Jason. With me is Tim and Bill.
Oh, I'm going there without some wings.
You didn't get enough Red Bull. You know, you got your wings.
Never had any Red Bull. But you're damn right.
All
Flying out
right.
into the sunset.
Tim's ready, or Bill's ready to fucking fly. Let's go. We're talking
Right?
Oh, yeah.
COC. We're
I'm over here with
talking.
migraine.
We're talking Deliverance. And if you haven't caught our previous episodes, this is our current rankings. Yeah, that's where we're at now. We're talking Deliverance now. Like, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff the kids do. Tim's got his record flashing. I can go first, I guess. I don't have the knowledge and the history that Tim has and who changed what when, because this band was fucking complicated to fucking keep up with.
I can give you that first if you want to. If you want,
It won't help.
Okay, yeah, I know they had a different singer, right?
yeah. So after Blind, um, like Pepper Keenan sang "Vote with a Bullet" off of Blind, and that actually became like a little bit of a hit. And so that was kind of planted in their head, as I was kind of alluding to in the last episode too. Um, he originally tried out to be their singer, and they didn't think he was good enough, but they liked him enough as a person to keep him on as the second guitar player.
And now
And
he's
then
the
they,
singer, or
well, yeah, because so somewhere during the Blind tour, for some reason they decided to change band members again, and lost their singer and bass player, but Mike Dean comes back. So now we got Mike Dean back on bass.
but not singing.
Well, he does sing a song on this album, actually. Um, but no, he kind of, while they were looking for a singer, it was Mike Dean's suggestion that Pepper just take over the vocal duties. And so that's how they went in and recorded the album. This is their major label debut. Blind did well enough in the landscape that was 91 and 92. And of course, the major labels were gobbling up anything alternative they can find. And so Deliverance is one of those albums where major label debut from a punk rock band, from Raleigh, North Carolina, who just changed singers.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, I don't. How well did this record sell, though? Because
It's gold. It went gold. So that's 500,000.
this is
Congratulations.
this is. If I was a major label and I was like a talent scout or whatever, hunting bands, and I found COC, I said, yeah, y'all had this modest hit with Blind, whatever, and you got 2 records before it. Boy, you guys have fucking changed a lot. You guys have grown up and gotten more whatever. I'm gonna sign you bitches, and then they give me Deliverance.
Entertainment Weekly gave it an A minus, and Rolling Stone currently has it as their 31 place for best albums of 94.
What else came out in 94?
Oh, a lot, a lot.
Don't get us started
My
on
point.
that conversation, Bill.
30
My
better
point.
records according to
My
Rolling
point.
Stone.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, and we do know a lot came out in 92, 93, 94. But yeah, it did respectable. It didn't blow up the charts. Like I said, this is the songs that they're gonna, the algorithm's gonna take it to. Albatross and Clean My Wounds are still played on your local radio rock station, probably once a week. They're not the every hour on the hour singles. They're not even the once a day singles. But here we are 30 years later, and they're still, weekly, monthly. I could tell you that Blind has a song that'll get requested a lot this upcoming November. Happens every 4 years.
The Vault for the Bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Albatross and Clean My Wounds. Fun story about Clean My Wounds. So I have the album here. This is a repress. This does not have the bonus track Big Problems, which if you watched our Eye for an Eye video, you might remember I had mentioned a demo from 1982. And Big Problems was on this demo from 1982, where this is 9 songs, like 7 minutes. It's something really ridiculous. And Big Problems was the Japanese bonus track for this album. It was also on the soundtrack to the hit 1994 film Clerks, which, of course, started Kevin Smith's career. And the director for the Clean My Wounds video is listed as Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Is it the same person? I want to say that was like disproven, but I need to find out again. So, internet, do your thing. Did Kevin Smith direct the Clean My Wounds video? Which looks a lot like Kevin Kerslake's video for Come As You Are.
Which was well out for 2-3 years by this point.
Right. But it was the 90s. You know how it went.
Yeah.
Major label debut. Of course, that's what's going on. Another fun fact about this album, mixed at Electric Ladyland Studios.
Yep.
So, they're given the carte blanche here as far as music goes. Like, yeah, go ahead, work at the best. But yeah, like you alluded to, it's yet another turn.
Mm-hmm.
I think the addition of Pepper on vocals really brought him into the songwriting forefront, and I hear a lot of his Lynyrd Skynyrd and ZZ Top influences, and those influences created this album, which this album is going to go on to influence a lot of major metal bands. Not limited to Metallica. If you go back to Metallica's 1997 release Reload and listen to a song called Bad Seed, I would say, just go listen to COC's Deliverance.
We're not at the turning point yet where it swaps. They're still
right.
They're still ahead of Metallica at this point.
They're still ahead of Metallica, but this is the one where Metallica really went, "Oh, we got to catch up."
Yeah, and we'll get there.
I can agree with that.
In 96.
And back in the day, 7 Days would be the one that Hetfield would perform live with them. He's not on this album. We're still getting to that one. But he would perform 7 Days with them. And speaking of 7 Days, it's a super sludgy, just heavy song. Broken Man, great. Señor Limpio, great. You do have a little, in a nod to the Sabbath worship, you got the little guitar interludes here and there to kind of break up the album. So you got Without Wings, you got Mano to Mano, you got 212, 1313. Migraine, super awesome song. The
Just
title track, Deliverance. Say it?
I said just a couple little ones.
Yeah, right. The title track, Deliverance. If you hadn't noticed, Mike Dean is back on bass with that sweet ass bass solo in, what is it, Migraine. He's got that sweet solo in Migraine. But he's singing Deliverance. And I
Wait,
always
wait, wait.
thought it
Mike
was
sings Deliverance?
Mike sings Deliverance.
Fuck me.
And I always thought it was Pepper singing the verse or the bridge, I should say. But listening back to it, it actually sounds more like Reed. I think the title track here is a full-on old school thrasher, but it's not. It's kind of funky. But they give you all the ingredients. It's really cool. Shake Like You is one of my favorite songs when I was 15, 16, whenever it was when I first heard this. I still love it. It's kind of got an industrial feel. Um, and then Shelter's a serious left turn. Shelter's like an acoustic country ballad that I love. It's just a really nice, pretty song. And then that brings you into the closer, Pearls Before Swine, which I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm going to go with best album closer. It's super groovy. The choruses are huge. They just explode out of the speakers. The lyrics are really melancholy, but they're also hopeful. And then it closes with like 2 minutes of kicking rocks down a beach while whistling Deep Purple tunes. You can't go wrong. As I alluded to in our relationship with this album, this was the first album cycle I saw live. It was one of the first big rock shows I got to go to, and they were the opening band, and they blew me away. They were just destroying on this tour. And bootlegs continue to show that. It's a great album. Changed my life. So I think it stands the test of time. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, being first timers.
Well, Jason, you said you'd go first, so I want to hear you first before I go.
So yeah, I'm just gonna go through my notes.
Sure.
Heaven's Not Overflowing. I liked Heavens, the vocal melody verse kind of contrasting with the music on the verses, which sounds like a
and
bad
how is
thing.
that for a great opening line?
I didn't write
I've
down
been
the
hunting
line.
on the I-10 with a Jesus for a liar.
It's got a couple guitar solos and lyrics, and now the cop's got a medal, but he calls it a prize. This is probably my favorite opening track so far. It's got a couple guitar solos, some fun yet useless info. Sorry, I read that wrong. So yeah, some fun and yet useless info. I usually use Spotify on my Xbox, and there's no ads. But as I was listening to Deliverance, my kids had my Xbox, so I was using my laptop to try and keep up. And I wasn't paying attention, and an ad started playing. It was Ariana Grande. And I know Tim kept saying this band takes a lot of fucking left turns. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then the guy's like, listen to the new Ariana Grande on blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, thank God. Because if that was
94 is a little early to be going full on 2020s pop.
Yeah, I was a little thrown off on that one.
Way ahead of their time.
I figured it out though. Albatross, very Ozzy or Sabbath. 5 minutes of stoner rock is not my vibe. My kid was in the room and said if she was rating it, it would be a 0 out of 10. It was really boring and a waste of time. That's what she said. Clean My Wounds had some good riffs. Without Wings was a short acoustic instrumental. It was good, it was fine. I can handle a track 4 short instrumental. Broken Man, it was kind of like Albatross. It was long, it was slow, it had no energy. The kid was still in the room and said that the impressive lungs were wasted on this. Senior, I liked Senior. It has some interesting tempo changes. It had some energy. Mono, starting to like these slower acoustic instrumentals sprinkled in as a change of pace. 7 Days was boring and repetitive to me. Kind of reminded me of generic radio rock minus the lyrical topics. 2-1-2, another instrumental. Okay, you're getting a little crazy with the instrumentals at this point. Migraine was a top song contender. Fuck yes. I'm a simple man. Give me a few good riffs, a few screams here and there, and I'm happy. Deliverance, I didn't mind the title track. It held my attention musically, but the lyrical quality wasn't as good as past records. Shake Like You, stoner rock. Do they call it stoner rock because you need to be stoned to like it? I don't know. At least it wasn't Aussie sounding. It was more like Scott with the megaphone. Shelter, I welcome the slide guitar. The Shelter stood out from the rest just for that. The vocal delivery was fantastic as well. It was still a little repetitive, but it was different. And the bleed into Paris was fucking perfect. Bleed into Pearls. Pearls Before Swine, I liked it. It started out sounding different, and the chorus was cool as shit. And I think Tim already touched on the chorus. So far as my favorite vocalist would go, my list would be Mike, then the James Hetfield guy from Blind, and then Eric from I, then Ozzy guy from Deliverance. This is the album to me that you guys already hashed it out with Ozzy, but this is the album to me that sounded like Ozzy meets the Melvins. I really liked Migraine, Heaven, Senior, Shelter, and Pearls, but this one was not. I wasn't digging this one. I'm not a fan of the long, slow, stoner rock, repetitive sound that a lot of bands did after this or previous to this or during this time frame.
Sure.
I do have one top song though. Migraine was pretty fucking cool.
I also should show off I got the Albatross 12-inch single.
Yeah, Albatross, I can't believe that was the single.
That's like their big single. That's the one song that the algorithm will take you to. Now, is it their best song? That's a whole nother story.
But
that's their signature song.
I was gonna say, I know it's Albatross. Was their signature single? That was not the song on this. I'll even say this album specifically that I was drawn to at all.
Sure. Right. Yeah, no.
And usually I'm drawn to those singles like a fucking moth to a flame. And this album did not have me drawn to that goddamn single.
Interesting. Okay.
You all know I'm a sucker for singles.
Sure. Well, and I mean, to be fair, this isn't necessarily a singles band.
No, not at all.
Yeah, they're not a singles
Not
band.
even close.
Even though, some even made the top 40.
Yeah, but the songs I pick for my top songs when we get to it, probably none of those.
Not a problem.
Which is
That's
weird,
how we roll here. Give me them deep cuts.
Considering usually mine is nothing but top 40 hits when we really think about it.
I mean, this is like Black Hole Sun time frame.
Sure. And they've already toured with Soundgarden. Pepper Keenan has actually been on stage with Soundgarden playing Gun a few times. Find those on YouTube.
Yeah, I will say if we were ranking album art, this would be a hard one to rank because it's dumb, but it's also cool.
But it's good.
At the same time, you got the fucking bass speaker on fire, which is really cool, but then you got two lizards at the bottom for some reason.
Fucking lizards.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, there's two lizards or frogs or something down there.
I'll call them lizards.
It's a weird album cover. It's cool, but it's weird, and I don't know. I don't know where I'd rank it.
Weird's okay.
Yeah, weird's okay. I'm cool with the album cover.
For Corrosion, Weird is on par.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
What did you think of it, Bill?
Honestly, none of this shit's scripted. You basically read off my notes, damn near word for word, of what I wrote.
So Tim's pick swings a whiffle this week.
Because I mean, Heaven, I felt was like their best opening track to this point. Like Jason said, Albatross, god damn, it's a fucking Ozzy Osbourne record, which I love Ozzy. I don't want CLC doing Ozzy though, which is kind of weird, and that also affects how I think about all these albums.
So that's a good place for me to point out. In 1994, so right before this album came out, the Nativity in Black tribute to Black Sabbath came out, and Corrosion of Conformity's on there doing Lord of this World. So if you really want to hear him do some Ozzy, it's out there. Killer version too.
But they're already doing the Ozzy. Like that's the last two albums is Ozzy.
Well, and I'm not going to get to that until like another 3 albums. So slow down.
I want to slow down, but like it's
no, it's cool. It's fair. No, I hear it. It's fair.
Like
fair.
I mean, here's the thing. If a band or artist wants to copy what another band or artist did, sound-wise or style-wise, that's fine. But build on it. But make it something new. Make it something unique. Add some flavor of your
Well, I'm going to throw out too that you've like already kind of admitted you've only heard maybe 3 Ozzy albums.
But when it's cut, copy, paste to here.
Well, is it though?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
I would argue yes at this point, especially considering it's 94. Like, fuck, No More Tears has been out for 3 years at this point.
Right, but I think this is infinitely better than and a progression of No More Tears. They did do something different. This is not No More Tears.
You're right.
Ozzy wouldn't.
They had more instrumentals on this album. You are very right.
Which is the very Sabbath thing. That's going back to the Iommi worship. You know, it's not just about Ozzy. We're ripping off Iommi too.
Does that help it though? No.
Well,
like. Fuck, every one of these albums going forward, I put a star next to every instrumental.
It's such a left turn, even from Blind. That, I mean, you can hear Blind, but you can hear that new member of the band like taking over the songwriting.
Yeah, it's a different direction.
It's a different direction, and it's not a direction that I agreed with necessarily because it's very Sabbath worship of an album to me.
I'll say this: these last 2 albums, it's been a pleasant surprise to hear the vocalist, but at the same time, it's been okay. Now I know why we did hear the vocalist.
It wasn't my favorite vocalist, but this is the album that I need to go back to and listen to again after this, because I think my opinion will change, and I may pull a mulligan next week when we regroup to finish these. I'll have to see.
I know I will not pull a mulligan on this album.
I may have to pull a mulligan. I'll see.
I know for a fact I won't pull a mulligan on this album.
Cool.
And the next one takes a completely different turn again.
Oh, we doing like 360 circles with a couple albums.
You don't know. I mean, this is fucking Mr. Bungle all over again. Only Bungle You knew what you were. You knew you go into Bungle knowing you gonna get fucked up. This one I didn't know.
This you don't see it coming.
You don't see it coming. And this isn't even. This is like low bar compared to where the twists and turns they're gonna take you down over the next decade. This ain't even that far of a stretch from Blind. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's like Blind, but just slower and not as interesting to me as Blind was.
Well, and one thing I forgot to mention earlier when it would have made sense, but in the time that Mike Dean is not in the band, he decides that he wants to learn how to play bass. So he really gets into like funk and jazz and reggae.
Nice.
And those are influences that aren't necessarily on the surface, like first listen you hear them, but they're there throughout this album.
The guitars
In
were
addition to
very...
ZZ Top and Leonard Skinner and Metallica and punk rock roots.
Yeah, see, I wasn't getting any Metallica or Leonard Skinner. I was getting more like Ozzy Sabbath. Like, this was a very slow and sludgy listen through, like Melvin-y sounding to me.
Yeah, I get the Melvins too for sure, but yeah, okay.
It's got a few like moments, like Migraine and Senior was cool. It had some energy, but this album just didn't have the energy that. Well, even the next album, comparatively.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay.
I don't know. This is a fucking weird band. Why you always bring the weird bands, Tim?
Because I listen to bullshit that nobody else likes. That's my favorite band. You've never heard of them or you hate them, they're my favorite.
Yeah, I can see the...
Just think, like, I heard of COC, and I don't hate them. It's just...
Yeah, but it depends on how you heard the name COC. Did you hear it from, like, your punk friend? Or did you hear it from your metalhead friend? Or did you hear it from the guy who...
Well, and to be fair, it was a metal show. But I was introduced to them live. Like, I had heard of them, but I hadn't checked out any albums. And then I saw them live. And it was on this album with this lineup. And yeah, they 25 minutes or whatever they had, and they won me over.
Oh, I'm sure they're fucking killer live.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to hear how they perform, what songs they would play live nowadays.
I mean, we can get there, but to be fair, like these days they're mainly a headline or an opening act, so you get the hits. It's been a pretty predictable set list for a while now.
So you get Albatross.
You get Albatross, yeah.
Which is weird to me. I don't know.
Like, I get why it was a single, but like, it's not.
The last tour I saw, they actually busted out "Shake Like You."
Okay.
From this album.
I can get
that. It was either Migraine or 7 Days. They did one of those. I can't remember. But yeah, they busted out a couple from here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few great fucking songs. It's just the tone of the album was so different from Eye for an Eye, and we kind of talked about it with the Descendants, where you got, I don't want to say it's discography fatigue already, but you get that, you think you know what you're going to get and you don't get it, and then you get something.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
That's,
you got to like keep recalibrating.
Yeah, it's you definitely got to recalibrate multiple times through discography. Like, well, yeah, this one's probably better than that one, but I don't know. Fuck, this is a weird discography to rank.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get to it then.
You're not talking semantics here. You're talking complete shifts in tone and members and genres and
production value.
production values. Well, Tim, it's your turn to guess. I guess you get a fucking free pass as usual.
Yeah, I guess as usual. I'm gonna say that, Jason, you think it's better than Eye for an Eye?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Bam. There you go. Bill, I think, is also going to be in fourth place.
You said you had. No, it is not my fourth place.
Okay, so second place.
No.
First place?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's not. We are not doing the Descendants again. Bill and I have gone off the rails here.
Still got Eye for an Eye lined up though.
I think Tim's about to change that.
Yeah, probably.
Jason already moved.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it at number one as well. I do think that, like, while, yeah, we have 4 wildly different albums here, I think the growth and progression,
Growth.
you know, it's tough for me to, like, rank a number of these albums, and this is one of them. Because do I love Animosity? Absolutely. Do I love Blind? Absolutely. Do I love Deliverance? Absolutely. So it's really hard for me to kind of go, well, but I love this one more. So I'm just going to go with, number one. They're just getting better.
Yeah, there's a massive difference. You take your list from Eye to Eye to Deliverance. There's such a massive difference.
Yeah, it's 2 completely different bands, and yet they've only added people. It's actually not a different band.
Oh, right now your run is like they get better and better as they go.
Yeah.
Hashtag screw first album bias.
Yeah, I mean sometimes the Lawrence Arms that was my deal with Lawrence Arms is like they just get better. Like every album they put out is better than the last. That doesn't take away from the last record, but
right. But something improved.
Yeah,
and so that's where I'm at.
I mean the songwriting on Deliverance is better than Eye for an Eye, you know. But as a non-fan who didn't grow up with his band, if I was to buy a record or if I want to listen to a record, I would reach for Eye for an Eye before I'd reach for Deliverance. And that's just me personally.
Sure.
I like that sound better than I would like the slower stoner rock Sabbath worship of Deliverance.
And I've said it a couple times. I'll probably say it a couple more as these videos progress. I've heard the argument for every single one of these albums being both the best and the worst. So I get it. It really does come down to personal taste. Yeah. And at this point, like, we've got such a wild variety that there's something here for you. You just kind of got to look for it. It's not spoon-fed.
Yeah, this isn't one where like you start with this one and then if you like that, go to this one, because it's like, well, if you like this one, you might hate this one, but you also might like these other 2 later. You know, it's a weird fucking discography.
I'm on board with all of them.
Yeah, I mean the color code will.
The color code will tell the tale.
Color code tells all.
Stick around, subscribe, like. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more videos. 6 videos. The color coding will explain it all.
Wise Blood's next.
Let's get rocked.
No, don't you fucking. You stay up off Wise Blood now.
Wild Blood or Wise Blood?
Wise Blood.
Wise Blood.
You stay up off that motherfucker. That's a fucking. We'll get to that one.
Yes, we will. I saw him twice on that tour. I was driving. I was free.
I was 16. Wasn't driving.
I was 17. I got dropped off at the Deliverance show with Megadeth. Like my mom took me to that show. But Wise Blood, I could drive myself. I even took dates to a couple of those.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Well,
man.
yeah, we're going to wrap this up. Stick around for Wise Blood. Probably be next week. So we'll all be wearing...
we haven't finished yet?
No, we haven't finished yet. Hashtag blame Bill in the comments down below.
Yeah, blame me. It's my bad.
Yeah, we'll be more sober, that's for sure, for Wise Blood, but not by much. So stick around for that. Like, subscribe. Love you guys. Be safe. Make good decisions.
Unlike me.